All right. So I believe truth is reality. And I want to talk about that. What is the reality of the world that we live in? What is the nature of our existence? Where did we come from? Who are we? We don't know what we don't know. To be intellectually honest, I'm right there in that. There's a lot of things that I found that do not add up. There's a lot of mystery in this world, and I want to unpack a little bit of that for you right now. One of the mysteries to me is how obvious it is that the sun and the moon move above a stationary Earth, yet nobody seems to notice. Like George Carlin, bless his heart. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. How about that? Welcome to our world, my truth-seeking friends. So in the summer, the sun would set way over here. Now look at where it's setting, way over here. One of the reasons why I'm doing this broadcast from here is simply because I wanted to show you from my home. A lot of people don't live right next to the ocean. As nice as it is that I go there a lot, this is my driveway. This is the home that I live in right here at 169 Cloverleaf Drive in Longs, South Carolina. And yes, wind chimes can't hang upside down anywhere except in the imagination. So a couple years ago, actually a year ago, I was out here and I did a photo shoot. It was right in this location here. You can check it out if you want to. And the sun was setting way over here. Well, now look where it's setting. And I remember noticing that, thinking, huh. Now this is before I got educated on the fact that we don't live on a spinning water ball. I had gone along with it for a long time. So conversely, on the sunrise in the summer, the sun would come up here, way over there at the point in Cherry Grove. I've got video evidence of it. And today, came up way over here. And I did a little video in my room and walked outside and showed you how the light moves around the room and hits the mirrors, and it's all pretty interesting. It's pretty cool. What I want to draw your attention to is a video at the top of the list. Matt from Quantum of Consciousness talking about how the truth community's been played. How about that? Isn't that special? Oh yeah, how do you feel about that? Do you know what I'm talking about? When you start telling people about getting little red, blue, or yellow dots on your mailbox indicating if you're going to be killed or ushered off to a FEMA camp, how about that? And then it doesn't happen. I can't say I want it to happen. I'm just saying, wow, that's just all kind of weird. So, you know, 9/11 was a big deal, 9/11 of 2001. This was a coffee cup I got 18 years ago on my birthday, August 5th of 2001. Less than a month later, or just a little bit more than a month later, a month and a few days, look at what happened. We had a criminal assault on humanity. It was an act of war, but the weird thing of it is, it was as best I can tell, our own government doing it to its own people. Or was it? What government is it, anyway? It's a world government, one that's going to reduce a lot of the population. Now, I know there's a lot of wacky conspiracy theories. That's intentional, to make the truth sound crazy to the deceived and the disinterested. So what I want to say with that is, from a biblical perspective, one of the reasons that this whole thing really got my attention about being born again was in 1982 when I got aware of Revelation 13 that talked about a time where nobody could buy or sell without the mark of the beast. And I thought, how is that going to happen? Well, we've got a digital artificial intelligence that's super powerful, knows a lot, learns and writes its own software. And yet God is all-powerful. God who created all the stuff that this world is made out of, and I believe paid the price for the souls of his children to spend an eternity in heaven with him. And Satan's children are going to get a different destination. I don't really know who's who. What I'm talking about here is the doctrine of election. I'm passionate about sharing the truth. Not just for the lost, it's the mission that I'm on, to share what I believe the truth is about everything that I can find out. Much to my shock, what wears the name of the Christian community was not very interested in biblical cosmology, as I believe it states that the earth is stationary and that the sun, moon, and stars, the luminaries, move above us. Well, it was wonderful to find that out, that that was the reality. It made some sense because that's what I observe. I observe the sun moving. I don't feel the earth spinning. What empirical evidence could I possibly have that we're not moving? Dun 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 dun. Okay, the water. The water is the clue, the big one. The fact that my wind chime hangs like this, and it would be impossible for a wind chime to hang upside down anywhere except in the imagination. There would be no plumb, meaning exactly vertical, upside down, or spinning, wobbling, and of course, gyrating. None of that movement is noticed, proven, or felt. If you do, seek immediate help, because it's not the earth. Joe looks like he's got it down, just cruising along. You know, there's people all around that are doing life and totally unaware that the system has created a kill grid that's all around us. Cell towers, 5G, Wi-Fi, self-driving vehicles. Hey, it's cool, a Tesla. How about a MRAP? How about that? What happens when an MRAP rolls in your neighborhood? For those of you who aren't hip to that, it's a military vehicle. My dad used to sell steel to Oshkosh Truck. They made military vehicles and more. You know, firefighting equipment. He sold there were hundreds of Pierce Manufacturing in Appleton, Wisconsin. One of his major clients had a lot of fire trucks damaged and totally destroyed on 9/11. How about that? When Nixon was getting impeached, my dad told me about a tunnel boring machine that was so big that he saw that day. You know, this was in the early 70s. He said it was so big they put it on the front end of a locomotive. I've been paying attention my whole life. I've got memories of when I was a child in a crib. Now, that doesn't mean I remember everything. I just remember a lot. And I pay attention. And when I found out that the world system is extremely deceptive and lying to us, I thought, well, what am I going to do about that? Am I going to tell? Let's see. I'm going to try and set this up reasonably. It's a little bit tougher not knowing exactly what I'm looking at, or what you're looking at. What I wanted to say is, as we question our reality, I would say to seek the truth with all your heart, because it matters for eternity. And by irony and paradox, we don't know what we don't know. That's a powerful reality. It's kind of humbling. Now, to walk through this world being aware that there are so many people that are unaware of so much that's going on around. Like, for example, for me, I was a dead man walking and did not know it. I didn't know that I was spiritually dead because I thought I was born again in 1982. Well, I wasn't. The reason I struggled so much with the flesh, the addiction, my own self-effort and self-pleasure, is that I hadn't been born again yet, and all I had was the flesh. I met millionaires and went to Hollywood and spent time out there, rubbed shoulders with celebrities, names you would recognize, of course, probably. One of the interesting things about this, like you look at Jack Nicholson, he's got his Ray-Ban Wayfarers. These are the new edition. They're polycarbonate and polarized, so they're much lighter weight. But anyway, one of his famous lines in I believe, An Officer and a Gentleman, "You can't handle the truth. I want the truth." Tom Cruise wants the truth. Okay, I wanted the truth too. I wanted to know, when I found out that Santa Claus that whole story was a big elaborate deception. And it wasn't just Mom and Dad, it was the whole system. I remember seeing Santa Claus and his flying freaking reindeer on a radar screen on the very TV that I saw the fake moon landing as I adjusted the aluminum foil on the rabbit ears. Aluminum's conductive. They're putting aluminum in the atmosphere, nanoparticles. I show it with a light beam at night. It's integrating into our physiology. The programming coming through the digital televisions is powerful. It's brainwashing people. We have a cybernetic collective, meaning we're using devices that are portable computers, extremely powerful at deceiving. Now, as best I can tell, this is real. This whole experience is real. Now, tonight it's going to be about 48 degrees here. It's a bit chillier. But I can feel the temperature on my skin. I can see the light reflecting. I can feel the gentle breeze of about a mile an hour. The ocean is right over here. Right over, let me click that. It's all along here. You can look at it. You could pull it up on the map. 169 Cloverleaf Drive in Longs. Yeah, they're coming to take me away, huh? Just kidding. A little gallows humor. But when I got my when I got my midlife crisis coffee cup, little did I know what was going to happen on 9/11. It was weird because all the planes stopped flying. They were all grounded. We lived out in the country, a picturesque little community where we lived in a classic old farmhouse with agricultural land all around us. And the birds weren't even singing. They didn't know what to do. People were hunkered down in their houses and watching the TV and being trauma-based mind control was going on, and it's still going on. The moon landing hoax, the supposed moon landing, was one of the biggest deceptions ever perpetrated on humanity to hide, I believe, God, the reality of the nature of our existence. And I believe that the creator of our reality, the real reality, is the God who wrote the Bible through men that were moved by the Holy Spirit. That's what I believe to be true. A lot of my friends believe that too. So Jesus ultimately is the way, the truth, and the life. I got this at the Skyfall conference. A friend gave that to me. This is the only, this is a magnet. Yeah. So is the Bible.com. That's reflective. If you add that to a comment, the audio Bible will be there in over 1,000 languages. This is the car, and this is the setting. where I was heard saying, do you feel yourself spinning, wobbling, or gyrating? There ain't no gyrating going on in this driveway right now. Okay, it was kind of funny to say, for them to put it out there, but that's what happened. Now, I can say something kind of humorous, and I believe I do, and to have millions of people, upwards of, somewhere around 40 million people hear me say that, and then maybe go, hey, you know what? I don't feel any movement here. I do see perfectly still water like that. It will line directly up on the horizon like that. That is the amount of grade on the driveway. That is the amount that the car is tipped. So as we question our reality, I'm convinced it's God's grace is required to love and believe the truth, let alone find it. How will you know it when it's right in front of you? Apparently, a lot of people don't. And there is this powerful deception that is all around us. So the reality of what we can observe with our eyes, testable, repeatable, actual reality. One of the commenters that came out, he's asked a common question. What is the force that causes water to do what it does? Well, reality, buoyancy. Water is more dense than the air around it, so it goes in its container. The physics of water is it's relaxed. It's not like rock and dirt and biological structures like when we look at trees and stuff like that. Water is fluid, liquid, movable. So I'm just going to walk here for a little bit and show you a fountain. That's what the water will do. I mean, it'll go up and come down, and it'll fill the container of the water retention ponds that are right there. The reason why so many of our communities here have this, we can get inches of rain in a very short amount of time, and the flooding can be extreme. So when we had Hurricane Florence come through last year, it was filling up our neighborhood big time. See that big flat spot right there? That's what water does. Let me zoom in on the fountains. That's just what they do. Look at the light of the, I know I saw the reflection of the strobe light there. Interesting. But that's what the water does. All of the water in our world, in our life, does that. So when you take a shower, drink a glass of water, whatever, just pay attention to that if you want to. So although there's mystery in a lot of the history, that's part of what we're finding out. There's architectural mysteries. We don't know how they built the pyramids or who did it or why. There's mystery with that. But it gets even more interesting than that. Hey, Greg, good to see you, man.
How you been?
Good. What a beautiful sunset, huh?
Was it? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful day.
Yeah. Did you just get back from the point?
No, I went to the beach, to the golf course today.
Oh, let me put... Yeah, you're on. This is my friend Greg and his puppies. Hey, good to see you, buddy.
Yeah, too.
Thanks.
I'll stop by one of these days.
Excellent. Sounds good. So I've spent a lot of time talking to Greg out on the beach, out there at the point in Cherry Grove. What I would encourage you to do, and I'm going to just break something down here for you, is that as let's see, I'll put it in kind of a neutral view, somewhat. So as I go ahead and put the link of one of my videos, I like a video, it goes on to my liked video playlist on YouTube. When I do that, there's millions of occurrences of my liked videos playlist all around the internet. When you click on something like a search result, when I do, there will be millions of pages or millions of results. How many of those do you actually look through? What I would like to have you consider is the reality of, let me take us out back here for a bit. The reality that a lot of the playlists that I've compiled over the years has a lot of useful information that you may have a hard time finding. The system of control doesn't necessarily just give you recommendations based on what you look at, what you buy. It's way more sophisticated than that. It also gives you results on what it wants you to think about, where it wants to lead you. It's not by any accident that many of us that were interested in knowing the reality of the world we live in were presented the reality of the moon landing hoax and the fake news, the green screens. The most recent, one of the more recent events showing ABC News apparently thinking they're they didn't properly vet the skirmish in the Middle East and the bombs and all that, and it turned out to be a gun show in Kentucky. That's just too obviously intentional. Just wanted to tell you that. I want you to know that. They don't make mistakes like that. The system doesn't. Now, at the top of the list, Jay Tuck, on my liked videos, talks about artificial intelligence. The high-frequency trading that's going on in the stock market that affects the whole world system, and not just our market, all the markets of the world is involved in that. The people down on the floor, it's a lot less populated there, and they're more like extras on a set, like he mentions. Now, the artificial intelligence is also modifying the weather patterns and regulating the financial availability that businesses have to operate, farmers have to function, and all of that. It creates weather events that cause problems for food production. People are going to die because of that. When we look at modified weather wars, we have storms that have killed lots of people. Who's going to be responsible for that? Well, ultimately, nothing happens in this world that God doesn't cause or allow. That's a little bit disturbing, right? If you don't find that disturbing, then that's you're not paying attention, as far as I can tell. Now, I'm a biblical creationist. I've been born again in 2014, and I'll do whatever I believe God wants me to do. It's just what I'll do. So I'm not upset with God for allowing what he allows. There's just mystery with it. And so we've got a lot going on around us that I'm unaware of. No kidding, huh? Some of you might think. But I want for us to seek the truth with all our heart. Wow, this is spectacular. Let's see what I can show you out here. I want to show you with the forward-facing camera. Is that beautiful or what? Those different colors and textures are the evidence of the clouds that are on the horizon based on perspective. That's what that is. Fabulous. So one of the reasons why I put my phone number there quite a bit is so that people can actually call me. You can call me if you want to. like I say, call me whatever you want. Call me whenever you want. It's not that I'm just all lonely and want to talk to people. I'm available to reach out to talk to people that are being alienated, maligned, misrepresented. That's all part of the construct, the system of control. That's the way it's been established. It marginalizes us and lets the rest of humanity know that if you're going to tell on us, we're going to make it tough for you. Some people are going to lose their jobs, their wives, their lives, their husbands, their partners, their puppies. You know, you look at John Wick. What did they do to John Wick? They killed his puppy, and look at what he had to do, or what he did. You know, we've got this. We've got heroes. We've got heroes in the movies. We've got heroes on the sports fields and in all of that. But what I would simply say is that it's important to look at reality and then act accordingly. What will you do? What will you do, and where will you spend eternity, and why? That's why I do this. I believe it matters. So one of the other powerful evidences of the reality of the Bible, I believe, being true, is the fact that there was my changed life. That was a huge deal. So I have been given a power to do what I previously couldn't do, and a passion to do it even though it's unpopular. So I have a passion, purpose, an eternal perspective, and a power to do what I previously couldn't, like I said. Then the other really big evidence for the Bible being factual and true and reliable is that we have archaeological evidence that indicates that. That's another really important thing. And then we've got the reality all around us that indicates, well, the earth isn't moving, the luminaries do. That means the official network of, the official narrative of the corporate controlled media is corrupt and deceptive at the highest levels. Now, the news presenters that are trying to make payments on their Beamer, their Mercedes, or their Toyota, or whatever they're driving, their Tesla. I talked with a person that was working with Tesla recently. Yeah, how about that? I get some interesting calls. Just so you know, my phone number is an identifier that's linked to me. There's not a bunch of numbers like that, just mine, as far as I know. Okay. As far as hashtagging Robert Forsch, how many of us are there? Not too many. And like my dad said, Robert, I've never met anybody like you. He worked in corporate sales. He called on engineers, corporation owners, presidents of major corporations. And I said, well, good, Dad, you're paying attention, because I haven't seen anything like what's going on with me either. And it's not a hooray, look at me. It's like, I'm just so glad that when I was struggling with all my addiction and self-effort and trying to figure this out, that God reached in, gave me new life, gave me His Holy Spirit, and, you know, I talk about that. So we've got prophecy and fulfillment. It's a big deal in Scripture. Now, I know there's other there's a spiritual smorgasbord in humanity, okay? I'm aware of that. I'm totally aware of that. If you've got information you think I should know, you know, I know there's those that are in the truth movement that believe Jesus never existed and we're living in a video game. How about that? So I'm going to Flattoberfest in Greenville, South Carolina. From what I understand, Mark Sargent will be there. He's leaning pretty heavily into believing we live in a simulation. Okay? And so there will be people there that have perspectives that I don't agree with. That doesn't mean I'm not going to go and say, hey, how you doing? How's this working for you? And I don't know what kind of conversations will ever take place. I've talked to Mark face to face and others that'll be at the event. Karen B. Nice people. You know, I enjoy talking with a variety of this smorgasbord of humanity as well. Keep in mind, we're all eternal beings having a temporary human experience, in this human experience, 7 people per second perish. They transition. They no longer have the function of their body. Those are the numbers that were presented. About half of those are abortion worldwide annually. So roughly 100 million people a year or so, there's perish. They transition. And what the book of Revelation in the Bible talks about is a time coming that's going to be catastrophic. There's going to be over 100-pound hailstones. Do you know what a 100-pound hailstone looks like? That's more than a couple 5-gallon buckets of water, size-wise. Wow. That was a big crane that just flew over. I don't know if you can see him. Yeah, there he goes. But he flew right over the house. That was pretty cool to see him. This is a beautiful area. I just love it here. When I was getting ready to go live, I noticed that, there's like 5,000 of, close to 5,000 people that I'm connected with that are online right now, and roughly 2 billion Facebook users. And there's a lot of activity with that. Now, on my YouTube tells me I've got a couple thousand subscribers. How would I know? How would I know for sure? I don't trust the numbers. I don't know the exact watch time and all that. A lot of my subscribers even come from telemarketers that call, neighbors in the neighborhood, people that saw me at the first Flat Earth conference. And then there's people watching, and I don't know what they do with that information. I know that there are people that used to watch my channel that have transitioned. They're gone from this dimension. So I had a kind of an interesting thing. Now, my Twitter says that I'm suspended. I keep posting there, and I'm getting some people responding to my recent tweets, even though Twitter tells me I'm suspended. Just like when I was told that I can't hand out any more friend requests because I've handed out 1,000 and that's enough. Well, on the Infinite Earth post of the local sun video, when somebody would unfriend me, I would go there and just hand out I would add a bunch of people. I might get to add 100 people or so before somebody would drop in. What I've done now, this is almost 3.5 years plus that I've been public with my knowledge that we don't live on a globe, and I've been very vocal about that. Because of that, many of my friends, about 1/4 of them or so, the people that follow me and comment, will take up for me when somebody's hating on me. It's pretty cool. So it's encouraging. What I wanted to go back to is on the people that have subscribed to me on YouTube, many of them don't have any content there. And they may be in a position where they don't feel comfortable with going public with information that they find. I understand that. You can't really hide from the system. That the system of control, like Jade Helm was talked about, controlling the human domain, I'm telling you, it's pretty well nailed down. We've got that's not a self-driving car. However, in the last year, now we've got an automated sanitation pickup system where the gentleman that drives the truck, I've talked with him multiple times, he activates an arm that comes out and dumps it in. Well, you can easily combine self-driving vehicles with that technology. In the early 1970s, the NASA, actually, I was at the NASA booth at the Experimental Aircraft Association fly-in in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. I've gone there for 45 years or so. And not every year, but lots of them. In 71, they they put an autopilot on major jets. The Boeing 7 MAX, I believe it's a 737 MAX. Well, it's the Boeing that was grounded. Trump grounded the whole thing. When I told Joni that AI took over, it was a software problem. Yeah, it crashed some planes into killed a bunch of people. Who's held accountable for that? It was criminal. It was criminal because the people that should have grounded them didn't. So what will you do when you might be sipping your little cocktail in first class and AI decides to send you into a mountain? How about that? When I'm out at the beach and I get a reading of, I'm 10 feet above sea level or 260 feet above sea level, and I'm right there with my bare feet on the beachfront. Both answers can't be right. They could both be wrong. The 260 foot high one definitely was wrong. It doesn't always do that. So my point is, how will you know the truth when it's right in front of you? One of the reasons why I enjoy going to the ocean, watching the waves, interacting with the people is because it's real. It's not a synthetic, voyeuristic experience on the internet. And yet, because I go out there and I'll wear the I'll wear the YouTube Truth shirt. If I show you the reflection, I did it earlier. I put the YouTube Truth shirt in the reflection, and it reverses it from when it's in the selfie mode. But even when we have a changeover day, and there may be hundreds of people waiting to get through the Walmart because of vacationers visiting, we get about 20 million a year here now. So even though that happens, now sometimes I'll just drive the motorcycle there and walk around in Walmart. I don't necessarily want to wait for an hour to get through the line or a half hour. When I went there to buy up the borax, all the borax, it was funny. I'm rolling out the store with like 10 or so boxes of borax, which is an element. It's boron. And it's good for cleaning. It's natural. The largest boron mine apparently is in California. And it kills body fungus, candida, the gastrointestinal tract, the GI tract, toenail fungus, and body fungus in place, fungus among us. I don't want it on me. Baking soda kills it too. And I did a video earlier today where I showed the reverse osmosis system, and then the 5-gallon jugs that I fill up with that. Why? Well, because I don't want any fungus growing on me. I talk about that. I liquefy high-powered nutrition to give me the proper function of the processor I have, the wetware. There's computer hardware, software, and wetware. We be the wetware. How about that? I'll be back. Yeah, it's more like the Terminator. Artificial intelligence is not human friendly. It's not people friendly. It will isolate. It puts its communications throughout the whole distribution of this world. Now, keep in mind, although we had a flood, we're not going to have a flood when God destroys this world the next time. He's going to do it with fire. Now, that water is not very conductive because it's there's less than 1 part per million of dissolved solids. I just saw a light flash up there. That was kind of interesting. Yeah, I don't know what that was. But anyway, a little baking soda added to that, and you can electrolyze it, shatter the bond between oxygen and hydrogen, and you've got hydroxygen. I put it in a supercharged Buick Park Avenue. Yeah, I did that. I found out, it was there were other people doing it. They've got some pretty high volume systems. You can Denny Klein created what was called a water torch. You can take electricity and cut rock and melt steel, or melt steel, cut rock. He ran his car on it. You don't see people running around with pouring water in their tank, do you? That wouldn't be too good for the oil petrochemical companies. Oil is abiotic oil is continually being created in the earth. It's not dinosaur carcasses. That's ridiculous. Yeah. How about that? I had a friend that lived across from us in Hortonville, Wisconsin, and he worked for an advertising company, a major one, and they developed, they showed a globe, imagine that, a globe with a fuel filler handle with a knot in it and a drip coming out. And the line was, what then? What then? What happens when we run out of oil? We're not going to run out of oil. My long story about the water torch and the earth not being flooded next time, but being burned by fire. Hydroxygen can, okay, so the ocean is combustible. You've got hydrogen, H2O. Hydrogen's combustible, oxygen's a catalyst. We've got abundant electricity all around us in the form of lightning, the aurora borealis, and more. There's a lot we don't know. One of the questions I like to ask people that consider themselves very well educated is, do you know how much a gallon of water weighs? It depends. It depends because volume and density changes with temperature. Enough temperature change, you can get ice. I've driven cars like this. Drove this one on a frozen lake, Lake Winnebago. How about that? You can drive trucks, and big trucks. They move houses sometimes across lakes. Interesting. Heat it up enough with nuclear power, coal or natural gas or solar, and the steam wants to leave its vessel. You get turbines that are moved to create electricity. It's all kind of interesting, isn't it? I find it interesting anyway. So there's mystery with our history. We really don't know what we don't know. And what I've found is, like I've got almost like 3,280 some videos on my liked video playlist. It doesn't mean it's, thousands of hours of only the truth. I'm exposing, I believe, the reality of the world we live in. And to be intellectually honest, when I expose the deception on my channel and I talk about it, and I'm showing videos where they're still perpetuating it, they're talking about AI and they're showing the globe. They're expounding on machine learning systems, IBM, Microsoft, and they're showing the globe. Of course. That's kind of like the inside thing. If they're showing the globe, they're in on it, whether they know it or not. When we homeschooled our sons, we didn't know we were perpetuating the grand illusion. So how about that? I'll link my my phone number in the description. I did already. I'll convert it to a YouTube, add it to my liked playlist. If you want to know how to copy and paste, I'm going to tell you the story. It's funny. About 3.5 years ago, I asked our son David, I said, can you help me to learn how to copy and paste? I was learning a lot of tech stuff, and I said, I thought it might be helpful. Command C, Command V. I said, this world will never be the same. And it's true. It's not, because of telling the truth. Telling the truth and sharing it far and wide. How about that? Something that we can all do. With whatever level we're able to, I just encourage people to seek the truth, to share the truth, know the truth. This is Robert Forsch with the YouTube channel Truth. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thanks.